I went from negative in the bank account to now making six figures. The secret comes down to personal branding. Most hear branding and they think about the colors, the typography, but it really is.
Alyssa Aviles is a creative designer, educator, and Canva Empower Ambassador. She has worked with a lot of 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs. She educates people on how to create high-converting designs.
I went to school, decided to freelance. I knew nothing about business. I needed a mentor. I found Pedro. That changed everything.
Down the road, you started to work with him. What caused him to be curious around your work?
I could tell he didn't have a designer. I had felt like God had told me not to charge him. In 2020, he got famous and I was his designer behind the scenes the whole time.
In the world of design, what is the element that make monetary results?
If you have confidence, you could sell anything even if you're bad at it. So if you're really good at your craft, be confident in that and show up.
Being a Canva ambassador, what is the weightage Canva compared to Adobe Photoshop?
Canva is a tool like Adobe is a tool. And it's all about...
Please welcome Alyssa.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much. This is so cool. I'm super excited.
Awesome. So let's start the conversation with, like, I would love to know your backstory. Like, what was your life like prior to being a designer? Was you designing like from the beginning, or like what actually transitioned you to get into the love of designs?
Oh my gosh, this is such a good question. And I'm going to try to keep my story short because it could get really long. But, I've always been creative since I was a little kid. My parents always had me in some sort of art class growing up. So I've always loved the arts. I've always loved painting and doodling. And when I graduated from high school, my dad gave me my first camera. So most people know me as a designer, but I actually am more of like a multi-passionate creative. I started off painting on shoes and guitars and canvases. I used to sell like my stuff at coffee shops and galleries in Orlando. And then I started doing photography and I started taking pictures for a few friends of mine. I had a dear friend who has since passed away, and I always thank him because he was the first person to come up to me and ask me to shoot his wedding, and he was going to pay me. And I was like, wait, somebody will pay me for my creative services? What? I was like mind blown about that. And so I shot his wedding, and that honestly launched a creative business for me. So I started doing photography. I needed a website, but I couldn't afford a designer. I needed my own logo, but I also couldn't, again, afford a designer. And because I was already so interested in a lot of the arts and things like that, I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll start studying graphic design. So I actually started teaching myself how to do graphic design. So that's kind of like what led up to that point. But I've always been a creative kid. I've always loved the arts and photos and film and things like that.
Got it. That's amazing. So it means like you were kind of like an artist by birth.
Yeah, it's
Like,
so true.
right when you get in your consciousness, you were like, I'm into art and all.
Yep. And you know what? It's so interesting. Growing up, I love this stuff. And I was like, well, maybe I'll pursue a job in the arts, right? Maybe I can be an artist the rest of my life. And my parents are super supportive, but they were at one point like, you know what, there's not really a lot of money in the art industry. Like, are you sure you want to do that? And even in high school and in college, people would tell me all the time, you're going to be a starving artist if you do that, right? Don't pursue the arts. Don't go that direction. There's no money to be found in that. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't listen to it. Like, it's so easy to fall into that starving artist. And I mean, this is a big part of my story. Like it's so easy to fall into that mindset. I would even say that lifestyle, that cycle even. And so, I want to encourage anybody who's listening to this, maybe you're interested in some sort of artsy career or doing something like that. And you've heard people tell you there's no money to be found in the arts. You're going to be a starving artist forever. I'm here to tell you that's not true. Ignore the haters. The earth wouldn't be the earth without art, right? Like, we need the arts to survive and thrive. And it's a great way to tell stories. So yeah, I want to encourage you with that.
Yeah. So when you actually like got the realization after your friend that okay, like I can even get paid to do this stuff. So like, what was the next direction for you then? Like how you actually transition to, let's say, make it your profession and like get into the online industry even in general? Like how does that transition actually happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I ended up doing photography for a really long time. And because, right, I needed a website, I needed design, I was like, well, I'm going to teach myself design at the same time while I'm doing photography. So
Yep.
there are other things that came up, and I have my whole story on YouTube if you want to watch the whole thing, right? There were other things that happened in my life where I was able to get access to Adobe Creative Suites, which for those of you guys who don't know, that
Yep.
is like the main software for creatives out there. Now, of course, we have Canva, and we can talk about that later on in here. But Adobe was a big deal, and I was a broke college student. And so I had the opportunity to get Adobe for free. And so I started learning how to do it by myself. And, back then, YouTube it just started, but it wasn't to the point it is today where you can hop on YouTube and type in and find any tutorial, right? So I was teaching myself, and originally at the college that I was at, I was like, I really want to apply for the graphic design program and get in, and I'm going to become a graphic designer. I knew I didn't want to do photography forever. So I was like, I'm going to start pursuing graphic design. So I
Yep.
started doing what I needed to do to be a graphic designer. And the day came where you had to submit a portfolio to be accepted into the program. And I did all these art classes. I did all of this stuff. I submit my portfolio and I get rejected from the design program. They don't see any potential in me at all. They're like, nope, you can't do this. And I was devastated. So I decided to find another school, which is Valencia College. And I did end up, spoiler alert, I ended up designing some stuff for them. But I went to Valencia
Yep.
College, and it's just a 2-year degree. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to give up. I want to keep learning. I want to become an expert in this. And so went over to them, started taking classes, got really good feedback, really good critique. And I still talk to some of my professors today. I still thank them for, what they've taught me. And before I graduated from school there, I had job offers from agencies. The college hired me to do a few pieces as well. And so it was a totally different transition and story. And once I graduated from there, I was like, I'm going to go into freelancing. Like, if all these people want to work with me, I'm going to go into freelance design. And so I started doing that. I started freelancing. I started with my friends and family. I always tell people, I know some people are like, don't start with your friends and family. They're not your ideal client, which I get. I do agree with
Yep.
that to some extent, right? But at the same time, when I started telling my friends and family what I was doing, they started recommending me to other people, right? And it really became this viral word of mouth thing where when people were like, I really need a graphic designer, they're like, oh my gosh, go to Alyssa or Liz, right? And most people call me Liz. And so they're like, go to Liz. And I kept getting tagged in all of these things. And I'll just kind of like roll into this next little bit because I think this will be encouraging for some of you guys. So went to school, decided to freelance. I knew nothing about business, nothing.
Yeah.
And so I failed very quickly, just to be completely honest. Like I started freelancing, and about a year into it, I was living paycheck to paycheck, often in the negatives. And it was really hard for me to now find work. And I was trying to figure out, well, what the heck do I want to do? And so at that point, that's when I ended up having to go find a full-time job. A few years later, I ended up going back into freelancing because I hated having a full-time job. And again, because I didn't know about business, I didn't have a mentor, I didn't have anyone to really teach me how to do that stuff. Again, it was just like this all the time. And so,
Yeah.
I met with a friend for lunch. She was like, you have to find a mentor to take you to that next level. And that's why I love what you're doing right now, because I think that this is so powerful for people to get access to higher level people in this format, right? This is something
True.
that I didn't have. And this is something that I wish I had. And I just didn't know, right? Like I just didn't know, like, this is what I needed to get to that next level. So my friend was like, you need to get a mentor in your life. I was like, okay, how do I find a mentor? And also mentors are expensive and I'm broke. So like, how do I find this? And so one day I'm doom scrolling on Facebook. I see an ad and it's of Pedro Deo holding a 2 Comma Club award. And I knew what that was. And so I was reading his copy and I was like, man, I get along with this, this is speaking to me. I joined
Yeah.
what it was a free 30-day challenge back then. We did challenges weren't a thing then. So it was a masterclass back then, but I joined, I fell in love with the community. I fell in love with what he was teaching. I was like, I can get along with this guy. And so I sold whatever I could in the house to find a way to get into his group and be mentored. And I know you know the power of that, right? Like
Yep. Yep.
it's a game changer when you have like not only a mentor, but when you have a strong community with you as well. So that
I agree.
changed everything like in my life. Getting in with a mentor and a community that totally changed everything.
Yeah, I mean, like, your story is really amazing, and I remember like I've heard Alex Ramosi one time said is like try to go with the people or the circle of people that trust you first, which are your friends
Hmm.
or family, right? Because they are
Hmm.
your circle of trust right in the beginning, and these are the people who really trust you, and then you kind of like expand from there.
Yep.
Which not only happened in your case, it also happened in my case because when I was starting out, like I was starting out with dropshipping store, didn't had enough funds, but I got in my circle of friends who invested in my company at first that led me to had that sort of like beginning and starting things out, which got led me to have that sort of like
Mhm.
a breakthrough. And the other thing which you actually said is like was also similar that the first mentor I actually found was through a Facebook ad, which led me an idea like dropshipping was even a thing when I started out like back in like 2018 or something along those lines. So like there was a lot of relatability along that. I would love to like know more about, okay, you started to get into the challenge with Pedro, and then we had a conversation around it that like moving down the road you started to work with him too, right? So like what was the transitional shift, like what actually happened that caused him to be like curious around your work and like have him be like, hey, let's like would love to like work with you. So like how that actually happened in your case.
Okay, that's a really good question, and this is so fun. I love sharing this part of my story. So I needed a mentor. I found Pedro. I joined his group, right, and I got in there, and he would teach, and I could tell he didn't have a designer because he would teach, and then he would put like a Word document or a PDF inside the Facebook group, and it was basic, right, just like
Hmm.
type, no design, nothing. And so I was
Yes.
like, you know what, let me clean this up, let me make it into a nicer PDF. So I would do that for free, right? Like I would just do that and I would put it back in the group, and I would be like, hey guys, like I'm a visual person. I'm gonna share this because like I'm a visual person. I know this will help me. I think it will help some of you guys too. So that there's so much more to the story, and I don't want to get into the details, but long story short, I flew out to California. I got to meet him and the family in person. I got to meet a lot of people in the community in person, which was really, really neat. And when I got back home, I kept doing that stuff where he would go live, he would drop a document, and then I would just flip it around. So one day he called
Yeah.
me and he was like, hey, are you the one that's like, I just want to confirm, are you the one that's like taking my stuff and redesigning it and putting it in the group? And I'm like, yeah, I promise. I'm just keeping it in this group. I'm not sharing it with other people. And he's like, no, no, no. Like, I love this. Like, I love your design. I love that you're just like serving our community and doing this. I would love to see what it looks like working for you or working with you. And I was like, okay, yeah, that would be amazing. And so he's like, well, send me your rates, send me your portfolio. And, I'm a spiritual girly. And so, I had felt like God had told me not to charge him. And which is
Okay.
crazy. It's crazy, right? Because it's like, I was like dead broke. This guy is a multimillionaire. He could clearly afford to pay me, and he wanted to pay me, right? But I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let him know, like, I'm going to do it for him for free. So I was like, look, Pedro, like, I want to see how this working relationship goes. Let me design for you, like on the house. Let's see how this goes. Let's see how we work together. And then, down the road, we can see like what it looks like with you paying me. And so that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't like an everyday sort of design thing. It was just like every so
Yep.
often, and he would ask me to design stuff. And because he was in the ClickFunnels community, right, he needed funnels. And I, at that point, I had already started doing website design. So at this point, I'm already familiar with branding. I'm already familiar with graphic design. I'm a photographer, right? I've started doing website design. Like all my creative skills are now stacking on top of each other. So he was like, well, if you know websites, I think that you'll really understand funnels pretty quickly. Do you want to learn funnels? And I was like, yeah, you know what? Why not? So he started getting me more into the ClickFunnels community, starting to learn funnel design, how to do stuff in ClickFunnels. I fell in love with that. I thought it was so fun. And if any of you guys know Pedro, I know you talked about it earlier in this thing, he is the challenge guy. So in 2020, he got famous and very well known for challenges, and I was his designer behind the scenes the whole time. So I got to design all of these challenge graphics with him. I got to design the challenge funnels with him. So in a weird way, it's kind of weird like talking about it, because I'm like, in some ways I'm kind of like the pioneer of some of the standard challenge graphic and challenge funnel things that you see today, right? I'm like, we were the ones that like initially designed this stuff and this structure and how we do this stuff. And so, he of course did. I mean, I should follow up. He does pay me. Okay. I didn't stay working for free forever for him. Yeah. But he hired me on as a freelancer. Then he did offer me a full-time position. So I worked with him as a creative director for almost 2 years. And then I just really missed having my own clients. I love him. He's one of my closest friends. I love his communities, love the people that we serve. I really missed having like my own clients and doing my own thing. So I stepped down from that creative director position, but him and I still work together, and I still get to like serve all these people. So that's how I started working with him.
Yeah, wow, that's definitely an amazing story. And I remember like the very first time I actually got to know about Pedro was when he was doing a challenge with Anthony Morrison.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was in Anthony Morrison's group. It's been a couple of years now that when it happened. That was the very first time I actually got to know about like Pedro. And one thing that is like crazy that not only you've done, and most people simply like don't realize the fact, is like if you can able to like show a snippet of your service to somebody for free, it would cost less to even acquire a customer than a paid ads in a service-based business. It is so insane to think about it. And people just don't think about that fact that if you can just show them what you can do for them, it's like they can be your lifelong customer.
100%. 100%. And of course it's crazy to think about, right? And there's always risk with that, So like I tell people this story, and because it's not normal for me to be like, I'll design for you for free and then we'll just see how it goes, right? Especially like at this point, I had been designing for several years. I had designed for Valencia College, Habitat for Humanity. I live in Florida, so we have a few cities in this area. I had designed logos for like the Chamber of Commerce and like local events, and so I had already had a lot in my portfolio. So it's not like I needed to do it for free, right? But I just really felt like, you know what, let me do this. And I would say even before Pedro reached out to me, and this is something I encourage people to do, it's show up and serve, right? And I really think it's how you do it. I think it's like, you got to do it. Getting a little woo here. You got to do it with like a pure heart, right? Like I you've probably seen this because you're so in the marketing world too. You've probably seen it when you go in groups and you see when people are trying too hard to like sell who they are versus
like, why they're not working. Right? Then you try about it. You're like, why it's not working?
Yeah. And so it's like you see people like that versus people who just like provide value, don't have a CTA, right? They just show up and serve. Like, and so I always encourage people to do that and see what happens there. And the risk with doing things for free is just that, like, you don't know if you're going to land that client, right? And so there is a chance you could potentially put in hours of work not to land that client. But, I always encourage people, like, really just provide value, answer questions in groups when people are asking questions, show that you know what you're talking about, show that you're an expert, and people will start associating you with that too. And that's the thing with branding, which we could talk about that, I'm sure, in this call too. But
absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully that encourages you guys.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's completely on point. And like something, as you mentioned, is like, One is like it's kind of like a numbers game. It's like you cannot
Mhm.
expect like everyone to become client if you even try to provide a snippet of your service. But like on the flip
Mhm.
side, some people are running paid ads and they are also expecting and hoping to get conversions too, right? They're
Yeah.
still spending
Yeah.
some sort of aspect resources. And on the other side, people are trying to spend their time and just by putting up the offers which nobody actually buying, right?
Mhm.
So like I can completely relate to you because it happened to me not also like recently a couple of months ago when again like most of in the ClickFunnels space, like people know about like Josh Forty, right? Uh,
Mhm.
with Josh, it was a similar thing. Like he wanted the podcast stuff, and there were like a lot of people were pitching over there, and I was like, man, let me do one trailer for you for your podcast. If you like it, keep it. If you don't, like it's on us. Completely fine. Send it to
Yeah.
him. He was like, man, the quality was so good. Let us know how we can work.
That's
Like,
amazing.
and it's like all I did was apart from like all the other people was I showed up, I showed him what I do, I showed it to him completely what I can do for him personally. And it was like, okay,
Mhm.
cool. What others were doing initially, and that's also the other lesson for others is like they're just like, hey, reach out to me, like I can send you DM about what? You will tell them about the services, but you're not gonna show them what you can do it for them. So for some people, you can always like do that particularly, which like you've done like perfectly.
Mhm.
And I would love to like put more emphasis on like what makes somebody, especially in the world of like designs, I would say like including funnels and even in the creative design, like be able to like be successful because they're like they are designers, but some and those are broke. Like
Mhm.
some people know how to design, but they aren't able to like make it out with it. Some people might be like bad with design, but they are making more. So like what
Yeah.
is the element that actually make them monetary result as a service person being in
Oh,
a
that's a
designer
good
market,
question.
either designing funnels, creative designs, all that, etc. So what do you think about it?
That's a really good question. I get asked that quite often because, I went from negative in the bank account to now making six figures and I'm hoping to
Yeah.
make even more, right? And
Yep.
so people are always like, "Well, how did you do it?" And I'm like, "Well, there's more than one step, right? It's definitely like a series of events sort of things." So I definitely think, well, like how you mentioned there's people who are bad at design, but then they're like banking, right? And even I get frustrated with that. And I'm like, how are they doing that? And I really think part of it is confidence, right? Like if you have confidence, you could sell anything, even if you're bad at it. And so like
Yes.
I think that's one
Of course.
thing. And so if you're really good at your craft, right, then be confident in that and show up. Like guys, in full transparency, I'm working on that right now because I've been behind the scenes, behind many people like Pedro and a few other people too. I'm very introverted. Even something like this is like a stretch for me. And so I like being behind the scenes. I like kind of like chilling out a little bit. But now I'm like, okay, I've got to really step into this thing. I know what I'm talking about. And there's so many fake experts out there right now, kind of going back to what we were talking about before, like if you can show up and show that you know what you're talking about, that is a huge like natural selling point for you right there.
Of
And then
course.
the other thing, and spoiler alert, this is the secret to everything that I do. Okay, so everyone listen up. Okay, here's the secret. Here's the key thing. It really comes down to personal branding. Like you have to show up as you are, who you are. Be confident in who you are. Be authentic and show that you care not only about your craft but also about people as well, and you really want to stand out from everybody else. And a part of personal branding is differentiating yourself, right? Like kind of how we were talking about with the DMs, right? You're going through the DMs
Yes.
and you made yourself stand out by being like, well, hey, I'll do this for you. And you were already so different than that whole thing. And so I think people really need to spend the time. I'm gonna give you guys all the secrets right now. Here's the other like
Let's
key
do it.
thing. The key thing for me when it comes to personal branding, when I teach this, most people will think about they hear branding and they think about like the colors and the typography and like, oh, Liz loves wearing hats, that's part of her brand, like they'll start thinking about little
Yeah.
things like that. But really the first step when you start thinking about all your branding stuff, it really is discovering who you are. It's really a self-awareness sort of thing first. And so you have to figure out, okay, why am I doing this? Who do I want to serve? And you got to, I like to call like the heartbeat, right? Like, what is the heartbeat of your personal brand? I know Dean Graziosi and a lot of people do like the 7 levels of why exercise. That's a really great way to kind of figure out, okay, like what's the heartbeat of this thing? But then also figuring out what is your personality type? You know, what drives you crazy? What is the thing that gets you going? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And once you really start discovering more of who you are and being more self-aware about what works, what doesn't work, it's going to set you up for success when you start piecing together the rest of your personal brand stuff. So then you can start piecing together, you know, your colors and your fonts and all the visual things too. But, you know, people are going to notice you when you stand out from other people. So you really got to figure out like, okay, what is that thing that makes me different from everybody else? So you're just not another designer who's going to pitch a DM, you know, and get in somebody's inbox, right? Like, what is it that sets you apart from other people? And, you know, like we were talking before this call, you were saying you were looking for my bio, which is on my website, but like my website's down right now, right? And so my website has been down for a while and I'm still booking clients while I don't have a website. I barely show my portfolio on like my social media stuff, but people, because they know who I am, they know my character, they've been following me on social media for a while, they see how I talk, they see how I think about the world, that they get to know me, right? Because of that, I still have people who send me to other people and like other names, and they're like, you've got to go with my friend Liz. Like, there's nothing like working with Liz. And my clients even tell me like, oh my gosh, like we love working with you compared to other designers. Like, you're more personable, right? Like you actually do what you say you're going to do. You're providing strategy. You're actually doing above and beyond. And so it's not only differentiating yourself, it's also providing like an absolutely incredible sort of experience too in the process. So, you know, I know that was kind of like a long-winded answer for for your question, but it's kind of hard to like be like, oh, well, you just got to do 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, there's a lot more like meat to this. I feel like you and I could talk about this forever.
Yep, like I mean, like absolutely. I really feel like branding is kind of like how things are getting associated to you and how people actually think about it. That's
Yep.
actually what brand is like what your belief is,
Mm-hmm.
like what your thoughts are, like how you are in front of people, like how they think about it. I remember like some of the beginners reached out to
Mm-hmm.
me. I was like, bro, like I know you're doing podcasts, but I don't know what you're selling. I was like, that's a good question.
Yeah.
The reason why you don't know what I'm selling is because I'm not planning to sell to you at least anything right now, and you're not even my target
Yeah.
customer. It's like the target customer I
Mm-hmm.
know who I doing podcasts, all that. They know what I do. They reach out to me. So
Exactly.
I don't have to like pitch it all the time or make my every post like a salesy to make it look like I'm selling like desperately all the time. The people who knows about it, they will reach it out. As you mentioned, if the website in your case is under construction, people knows
Mhm.
what you do and they go from there. So that's
Yeah.
definitely an amazing insight, the way you mentioned. And speaking about it, like you were also discussing like earlier on, like being like since you're into designing, also a Canva ambassador, like how personally you're using Canva, or I would say like what is the weightage of percentage you're using Canva compared to like let's say Adobe Photoshop for most of your stuff? Because like what I've understood is like you break other people's false belief of thinking about like it is too hard to create graphics for stuff to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But I would love to
Yeah.
know about like what is the certain weightage actually looks like, and can you tell us like more about that?
Oh yeah, I love talking about this, and because this also ruffles some feathers.
Yep.
Just to be honest, right? I'm sure you see it a lot, but I was on TikTok the other day and somebody had posted this video like dogging Canva and being like, real designers don't use Canva. You can't design like crap in Canva. Like they were just dogging it. And I'm reading the comments and all these designers are going on there. And I'm just sitting there like, you guys are missing out on an easy opportunity. easy opportunity. And so, but in all fairness and in full transparency, I was like that when Canva first came out. I think Canva's been out now for almost 11 years. I think last year was
Yes.
like their 10th anniversary. It's like $1 billion company, right? And so like they're doing well. But when Canva first came out, I remember one of my best friends, she has her own business, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, I started using Canva and I was able to design my own flyer, my own podcast thing." Like she was like telling me all this stuff. And initially I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, am I going to be out of work? Is that like, if she can do that stuff,
Yeah.
who's going to hire me?" So that was my first thought. And so I started looking into the program. I was like, "Oh, I started thinking like the other designers. I was like, this is, too easy. They're making it too easy for anybody to learn how to design. They're making it too accessible. Nobody's going to hire me." So I was like, you know what though? If this is going to be the future, I want to see what it's like. And I would much rather know about it and figure out if it's going to be a better solution for my clients. And if it is, then I should also do that. And I'm so grateful. And guys, hear me out when I say that, because this is a whole nother topic for maybe another time. But now with AI, right, there's a lot of debate in the creative industry with AI being introduced. And there's a lot of fear with that right now in the creative industry. And so for me, I'm like, I don't want to be fearful. I would much rather approach it in a way where, okay, this is where things are going. I need to know about it and be informed about it. So circling back to Canva, I started playing with Canva and I was like, wow, this is actually not bad. Sure, I can't do very intricate, detailed Photoshop stuff, and I can't design crazy, intricate logos. But if I want to do something short and sweet, I want to make a Facebook ad, I want to make a slide deck that's not in PowerPoint, I want to do something simple, this is great. And so when I joined Pedro's team, I'm the only designer on the team, right? And so when I joined, I was like, well, let me start designing a few things in Canva. And what was happening was early on in the beginning, I was doing a lot of stuff in Photoshop, but then other people on the team, because we were going so nonstop, there would be times where the email person would be like, "Hey, Liz, I really need like a graphic for the email header. Do you have time to do that?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't have time to do that." So I was starting to get overwhelmed, and I was like, well, wait a second. Canva's easy. It's accessible. It's designed for teams to work together. Why don't I start designing more stuff inside Canva? So people are always shocked when I tell them about 95% of what I've done for Pedro over the last 5 years has been done in Canva.
Oh,
and
wow.
like, considering like the company has made over $50 million in revenue, right? And so like, I'm like, Canva is a tool that you can use. And so I started designing stuff in Canva, started giving the team the links. And because I have the branding in there, I have the colors, the fonts, everything, all they have to do is grab that file, copy and paste my stuff into another thing. They reorganize it. They send it to me. I give them a check on it, or I'll tweak it if I need to. And that's it. And so what I realized was this Canva is a tool like Adobe is a tool, right? And it's all about how you use it. And I realized that this was actually a shortcut. It was a shortcut for me. It was a shortcut for my clients. It was a shortcut for the team. I noticed like, I kind of talked a little bit about the team, but like from a client perspective, I started doing little brand kits in Canva. I started designing their assets in Canva. And it's so amazing that I can hand it over to my clients and be like, "Hey, here's your graphics. You guys can edit them as needed. You can make copies. You can resize them if you need to. But, have somebody else on your team do it. But if you need help, just let me know." And at first, when I started telling other designers I was doing this, they were like, "You're crazy. Like, why would you do that?" Because often in the design industry, when you design something, you typically give them the files, but then it requires somebody with Adobe Creative Suites to modify and edit, or they go back to you and they pay you to do it, right? It's just part of the graphic design world. Ideally, you want them to come back to you to make any edits so you get more money, you get paid.
Exactly.
So when I started telling people that I give the clients like their files for them to edit, people are like, "Are you crazy? Like, they're not going to hire you anymore." But that's not true. My clients still come back to me time and time again to edit, even in Canva, even if they can do it, because they're like, "We love working with you. Like, can you please do this for us?" Like, instead. So, I share this to say, don't be scared. Like, it works great for professionals if you know how to design, but even if you've never designed a thing in your life, Canva is one of those platforms that it just makes it easy. I mean, that is one of their core mission, their core, like, not mission, like it is their mission, but it's also like one of their core values too, is to make design accessible for everyone. And they're constantly finding ways to improve and get better with their systems and make it easier for people. And so, now over the years, inside of Pedro's communities, and now that I have my own school, I'm starting to teach people, hey, here's how you could do your own design. You don't have to hire me. I mean, you can hire me if you want, but you don't have to. You can just go on Canva and create something within a few minutes. And so I think it's such an incredible thing when there are tools and softwares out there to help people get to that next step and that next level, right? Like for me, my story is different. I ended up doing Adobe first, right? And really learning how to be a pro designer and then doing Canva. But for most people today, I'm like, just start with Canva. And then if you want to learn more detailed, intricate sort of things, then you can start introducing Adobe, Affinity, like whatever else you want to use.
Yeah. So Canva is fast, and Adobe is like more deep or more intense if somebody want to learn like more further, right?
Yeah. So Canva is, there's so much that you can do with it. It is super quick. It's fast. You can design on your iPad. You could design on your iPhone. You could design on your laptop, your desktop. I mean, they make it so easy where if you are sitting at the airport and you want to get a reel up on Instagram or like a post up on Instagram, you could design something on Canva on your phone, export it, and then put it on Instagram within minutes, right? Like you don't have to send it to a designer, give them your idea, figure it out, wait 24 hours or maybe longer to get that one thing back when it's just so accessible to just get started now. So I think that's why I like it so much, because it is set up in such a way where it is easy for anybody to get started. And Canva has plenty of resources out there to teach you how to design and get started with their software and their program. And so, I was kind of going back and forth. I'm like, well, do I teach people about Canva? Like, do I teach people about design? And so when the ambassador opportunity came up, I was like, oh, I have to do this. I love teaching people. So, and I love Canva. I love the company. I actually flew out there in, was it in May? I think it was in May. They did their first United States conference. And so I flew out there to attend the event, got to be there in person. I didn't get to meet the CEO. I was so bummed, but she was so close to me. I was like, I wanted to meet her so bad. Yeah, Melanie. And so, I met some other really cool people there though. And it was so neat getting to be there when they announced like their new glow up. And it was just so cool having that opportunity. So it's a company I really like. It's a company I believe in. I like to work with people where we have very similar values. And I am very picky about like who I promote, who I talk about, who I partner with. And this is a company where I was like, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Like this is exactly what I love teaching. It's exactly what I love doing. I gotta partner with Canva on this.
Yes, absolutely.
So yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I mean, like we already kind of like went past time, but I would love to like get it wrap up around like, since you have a school community, can you let us like know a little bit more around like one way people can find that school community, what it's about, who is it could fit for? That would be great.
Oh yeah. Oh, cool. I'm so excited. So, and I'm good on time, no rush. And so, I started my school about a month ago, because I, like kind of how I mentioned before, I wish that when I was on this journey that I had somebody to teach me all this stuff, right? Not just about design, but also about really stepping into your creativity, someone who would give feedback and encouragement, because sometimes what people really need is they just need a cheerleader in their corner, like they need somebody to be like, you can do this, like keep going. And so I wish I had that when I was starting this whole thing. Like what I'm not saying in this whole thing is like there were many tears. I've had a lot of health issues from like the stress and like staying up all night working on projects and last minute things and all of that jazz. But it's also been so incredibly worth it. And so I decided a month ago to start my own school. Right now, I have it at a founding member rate of $7 a month. I plan on raising that rate down the road. And I decided, I was on the fence about it for a while. And then I was like, you know what? Because I got encouraged from other people, I was like, I'm just going to do this thing. Let's just do this thing and get it out there. So I am teaching everything that I know and love inside this group. So I'm teaching about Canva and how to use it. I'm teaching about branding, right? We talked about branding. So I have a whole module in there about branding. I have my previous challenge in there. It was a 10-day challenge to show you how to go from having no brand to having a brand within 10 days. I have a Canva module in there. I'm starting to build out a website and funnel module in there. And so this is for people who know they want to step into some sort of entrepreneurship thing. So kind of like me in the beginning where I was like, I know I want to have a business, but I can't afford a designer. I can't do all this stuff. But I need to catch the attention of people and I need to know how to design well, right? So this is primarily filled with people like that who want to do their own designing and learn how to do their own designs. So I have a lot of people like that. I do have a few people who are VAs in the group. I have a few people who are funnel builders and they just want to learn how to design higher converting funnels and better funnels. And they really want to be in a creative environment. So I'm super excited about it. I have 103 members in there so far. I can definitely see this thing being a lot bigger. But yeah, that is my school. It's called Higher Calling Creative Club. Because I really believe there's a difference when people do things for the money versus do things for the purpose. And a lot of people who follow me and work with me, they're very heart-centered. They love helping other people and serving other people. And so that's why I called it Higher Calling. And then I just wanted a cool club name. So, Higher Calling Creative Club. So if you go on school.com, you go to Discover Communities, you can type in Higher Calling Creative Club. You'll see my group there and you can join directly through there.
That's amazing. We'll definitely gonna post up the link in the description, also in the show notes down below. Well, Alyssa, first of all, thank you so much for being on the show today out there. Any last thing you want to say before we round the show up?
Oh man, I thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on here. This was so fun getting to talk to you for a bit. And for anyone out there who's listening, really, I'm gonna encourage you to really rediscover your creativity. If it has been a while since you have read a book or gone to a museum or played with a Lego set or maybe painted or doodled, anything like that, I'm gonna encourage you to take some time for yourself to heal your inner artist, because everyone is born creative, but life can get in the way really easily. And we forget to play, we forget to have fun, we forget to imagine. And when you start to step into that creativity, oh my gosh, guys, it's a game changer. You're going to start noticing more and more things kind of falling in alignment and falling in place. So that's my encouragement for you today. Take some time to play.
Amazing. Again, Alyssa, first, thank you so much for being on the show. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching. We're definitely going to see you guys in the next episode. Until then, peace out.